We've marched, we've mourned, we've prayed, and we've protested. But now we fast, not just from food, but from fear, from silence, from waiting on justice to come knocking. This is the Target Fast, a movement, a mandate, a moment. And tonight, we hear from voices that have led and will lead this charge as we discuss what's next. Dr. Jamal Bryant, the Honorable Nina Turner, Dr. Ben Chavis, Tamika Mallory, and others. Welcome to the Target Fast Town Hall at New Birth Missionary, hosted by Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Indeed. Praise the Lord. Y'all make some noise, y'all, if you're feeling good in here today. Listen, I'm Willie Moore Jr., the host of the Willie Moore Jr. Show. I honor and appreciate this opportunity that I get to introduce one amazing gentleman. As you know, we live in a time right now where a lot of things are going on that are very, very unique. As we know, pride is going to make an excuse, but humility is going to make that adjustment. And I'm so thankful that you took the time. Four most innovative thinkers by International Business Time. He is the president of Rolling Out Magazine, the largest free print urban publication in the U.S. He's also an Emmy-nominated national broadcaster. Dr. Ritchie is also the host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, a nationally syndicated TV show that touches over 3 million people. Y'all can make some noise for that. Come on, he touching lives. Now, in addition to his media career, Dr. Ritchie is a professor of physics and the chair of the Department of Science at the Paris Graduate School. He has taught at renowned universities such as the University of Michigan, Morgan State University. His academic focus includes quantum physics and neurophysics, and he's a doctoral candidate in quantum physics. Now, Dr. Ritchie's groundbreaking research in quantum physics it's just a very, very amazing wave. Now, listen, he's no stranger to stages across the country. As I talked to him backstage, I told him, you know, it's so amazing. I've watched your journey years and years and years. And it seems like this climate that we see in politics fell right into your lap. The one thing I know about people who have been consistent and really putting their head to the plow and doing what they're supposed to do, we know that internationally and nationally that their time is going to come. And I strongly believe that the man that I'm bringing to the stage right now is a voice that we need in all communities, especially the African-American community. Ladies and gentlemen, he's no stranger to a stage. Make some noise for the one and only Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Come on, show your love. Let's go! Come on!
Can I say, I love you? Can you say you love me? Can you say to the person next to you, I love you? Then the person to the other side, I love you. I just want to start the agenda because this is the agenda of love. We've been talking about a fast, and I want us to collectively give our dear brother, who is way ahead of his time and definitely ahead of most of his colleagues, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Yes. Love. That's love. Authenticity is becoming a rare commodity. The fast was an amazing opportunity to show strength. And when you say fast, especially talking about a Fortune 500 company, they're waiting for the fast to break. So today, I'm sure they have some of their double agents reporting when the fast is set to break. However, today is the day that the fast becomes a national full boycott. We're going to have a great opportunity to engage. I just want to remind us of something that we felt. We've only been here for a couple of months and some change. Rolling back DEI programs didn't start when that one was sworn in. They started rolling it back years prior. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It didn't start with this administration. It started years prior at kitchen tables, at bigoted houses all across this country. Those bigots became leaders inside of our political representation dynamic, and now they are bold to say what they choose to say. The beautiful thing about this moment is that it forever exposes those who were never with us in the first place. And we needed to know. We needed to know if you were down with us or not. Economic withdrawal is still the name of the game, because no matter what politics may happen in America, they will never get away from their almighty dollar. And we have a few of those ourselves. So economic withdrawal becomes the name of the game. To welcome our dear brother and leader is another leader who makes him a better leader. I'm bringing to the stage Dr. Kerry Bryant.
Come on, everybody, put your hands together. It's got to get better. All over the world, listen to these words. White Star.
Good evening, family. Can you just look at somebody and say, I am glad to see you in the building tonight. Hallelujah. You may take your seats. I am so grateful tonight and actually very honored to be able to introduce a man that many of you know as truly a prolific leader. He is a leader's leader. And more than that, he is an incredible pastor. He is an incredible agent of change in this nation and all across the world. He is a man that leads in a way that causes other people to be inspired by the work that he does. I could give you a laundry list of the things that he has done in this community and across this nation, feeding millions of people, clothing thousands of people, ensuring that thousands of students have scholarships to be able to go to college. Yeah, that's a good place to clap. I could tell you about all of the innovative ways that he has led New Birth, and everything that he touches, the Lord seems to favor. But I want to speak to you very briefly, not about all of those amazing things that he is, but I want to speak to you about the man who is my husband, none other than Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. I want to say to you transparently, when my husband came to me to talk to me about his vision for this movement and what he believed he was called to do, I'm a wife that asks the hard questions. And so I said to him, is this a Jamal thing or is this a God thing? And he said to me, transparently with tears in his eyes that it was God calling him to do it. And I said that since it is God calling you to do it, then whatever it is that you believe you need to do to make this happen, I am behind you 1,000%. And I must say to you that in the process of this, I have saw the hand of the Lord on my husband's life through every high and low, every dip, every valley. God has led him. There have been many sleepless nights where I would watch him get lack of sleep. I would watch him wake up in the middle of the night, go get up and pray, get on Zooms the next morning, go catch flights all day long in pursuit of ensuring that he was doing everything that he could to push this movement forward. Sometimes with me fussing because he has not gotten rest, he's not gotten adequate sleep, he's not eaten the best, but when he has something in his mind and in his heart that he wants to accomplish, nothing will keep him from accomplishing that goal. Yeah. When there were death threats, when there were his photos in the White House, when people were targeting the church, when we had to get extra security from our home, what I love about him is that he is not a man that flinches. Not one point in time did he show any fear, but at every point in time, he ran to the Father to get insight, to get revelation, and to get guidance on how to move forward. I have watched this man lay every ego aside. I have watched him lay every agenda of his own aside, and I have watched him galvanize people in ways that are absolutely remarkable so that we would be in this space tonight in order to reach a greater goal. And so I tonight not only introduce to you a person who is an incredible leader, but can I tell you he is an incredible man, a man who walks with honor, a man who walks with integrity, a man who walks with vision, and who is fearless in the face of adversity. Tonight, can you stand to your feet as we give God glory for a leader that he has appointed for this moment and this time? None other than our incredible, fearless, remarkable, honorable, fine, handsome, brilliant, and my husband and our fearless leader, none other than the Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant.
We've been made do it for a night, only one night though. We've been made do it for a night, only one night though. Cry made do it for a night.
Can you help me thank God for the greatest wife in the world? I am remarkably and humbly blessed that God would think so highly of me to give me Dr. Carrie Bryant. I'm appreciative. I want to take a moment and publicly appreciate Doctors Jasper and Joseph Williams and the Salem Bible Church for opening their doors for us. We are just one exit away, and we had a power glitch in our church where all of the electricity went out at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they couldn't find any way to revive it or to resuscitate it. And we called our good neighbor, Salem Bible Church, and they flung open their doors to allow us the opportunity to come. Before I share my remarks, I wanted to pause to publicly thank you. We started this campaign just as a New Birth Missionary Baptist Church initiative. We had no idea in our wildest imagination that 200,000 people would align themselves with this vision and with this burden and with this campaign. And so before I talk to the nation and talk to Black America at large, I want to talk to the greatest church in the world, New Birth. Thank you so much for supporting this vision. And so that we are clear, history will record that we are 70 years since the Montgomery bus boycott. 70 years since America has been shaken to its core, to see the strength, to see the stick-to-itiveness, and to see the prowess of the black economic dollar. They stood together for 381 days. In the 41st day, there's no way that we can be tired. There's no way that we can be weary in well-doing. I don't want you to think for one moment that it began or originated just with us, but we took on the spiritual burden to broaden the conversation so that the black church at large would become a part of the conversation and the dialogue. And as a consequence, churches have lined up around the country to stand in lockstep with us. But before we got on our knees, it was some sisters in Minneapolis who took the lead and said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. All politics is local. And so I want to thank the grassroots organizers in Minneapolis who really did the heavy lifting when no TV cameras were there, no newspapers were there, no radio was there, but their conviction was there. While I stand today, I don't stand alone. Beyond my wife, I've got two other women who think they're my wife's sister mothers, who boss me around, tell me what to do, and cuss me out without cussing. And I love them, and I want to publicly appreciate my dear sister, who is really a lion without peer, Sister Tamika Mallory. I'm grateful is with us. And the Honorable Nina Turner, who is a force to be reckoned with. I have found that sometimes one of the most important things you can do is set the record straight, because people will make up a narrative on their own. And I say this because we are not engaged in a struggle with a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate because we hate somebody in the company. We are not choosing to take a moral position against this company because we have a personal vendetta against the CEO. We are engaged in this epic struggle to push back the greedy hands of corporate power and political cowardice because of the disingenuous notion that many feel as if that without lip gloss, they have to kiss the ring. And we are engaged in this battle because you don't get to walk away from your public commitments to black people and think there will not be consequences and repercussions. None of these companies would think for a moment to do how they have handled us would they do to the Jewish community. How they have handled us is not how they would handle the Asian community. They are doing it because they believe they can get away with it. We are engaged in this battle because we understand that your word has to mean something. This company should have been serious in 2020. And if they were not serious in 2020, then they should not have opened their mouths in the first place. When it is that George Floyd was killed, the CEO and president of Target, under no political pressure, made a bold proclamation that George Floyd could have been one of his employees. And as a consequence, he wanted to stand beside the family and the community. We didn't ask Target to make a promise to black people. They did it out of their own will and out of their own volition. In 2020, Target was the one who came to us and said that they were going to spend $2 billion with black-owned businesses by 2025. To be clear, we didn't ask them to do it. They volunteered. It was Target who said that they pledged to support black nonprofit organizations and to fund scholarships for black students to the tune of $100 million. We didn't ask Target to do it. Target said they wanted to do it. And it was Target who said that they were going to increase black representation within their workforce. According to a CNBC report, Target promised to increase black representation in their workforce by 20%. And according to Forbes magazine, they pledged to give $10 million to social justice causes, and thus far, they've walked away from all of it. So let's be very clear. I want you to understand, Target board, CEO, and staff, that opening a store in the black community is not an investment in black communities. Opening a store in the black community is just another opportunity for you to make money. Nobody in America spends more money than black people. To our own detriment, I do not say that with a badge of honor or with pride, but we are the nation's lead consumers and embarrassingly least producers. We are the engine that moves the infrastructure of the consumer economy in America. If they want to sell anything, they've got to put a black person in a commercial. And they do that without spending money with black media, in black radio, in black newspapers, or black networks. So when I say that Target walked away from their promises, I don't mean to suggest that they didn't open any stores in the black community, because they never promised stores. And the reality is that we do not just need stores, we need investment opportunities. Today, I want to go on record as the president of the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce is with us on tonight, who you will hear from later. What we do not need financial literacy. We need financial empowerment. Our issue is not knowing how to balance a checkbook. We need to know how to have access to capital. We need to know how to finance our homes and how to get businesses off the ground. Something is amazingly out of order when black people can always, without fail, get a loan to get a used car, but cannot get a loan to build a new house because of what is going on in America. During the summer of 2020, when George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis by a white police officer, Target claimed to have seen the light. But now, 5 years later, there seems to be a lunar eclipse. And the insulting part is that they want to put all of us in Ray-Ban sunglasses. They expected nobody to care about breaking the promise to black people, because America is used to doing that. They said they won't mind, they are just accustomed to the trauma of broken promises. We promised 40 acres and a mule, and we gave them Section 8 housing and a bus pass. We promised if they would fight for democracy and fight in our wars, that they could come back home and find themselves treated with decency, and your fathers and brothers and uncles still could not take advantage of the GI Bill. Because in their minds, respecting black people is not something America ever has to do. In their minds, respecting the black community is not a matter of financial life or death. Apparently, somebody in Washington told them that it is all right to disrespect black people, to take advantage of the black dollar, to ignore the black community. They have set the template long before Inauguration Day, and you've seen it with banks that pulled out branches and dropped ATMs. You have seen it over and over again when it is that you can't find a bank, but you can always find payday loaning. You find it when it is that you drive through our communities and you cannot find fresh groceries, but you can always find malt liquor. They don't mind taking advantage of our community or taking advantage of our dollars because they think nobody will pay attention. And so what has happened in the last 10 weeks has caused whiplash in corporate capitalistic America because they never thought we would notice. New Birth noticed, Atlanta noticed, Georgia noticed, Black America noticed, and as a consequence, Wall Street is now noticing. When black people close their pocketbooks, that's the real protest. When we stop spending our money, that's the real speech. When we stop going to the cash register, that's when we're really free at last. When we stop buying stuff we don't need from people who want to talk to us through plexiglass, the respect has come to an end. So we have engaged in this trouble because we've come too far. We've been through too much. And the insult has got to come to an end. This fast turn boycott is sending a clear indication across this nation that the days of breaking promises to black people have come to an end. Somebody is going to pay the price, and we don't accept layaway in 2025. Whatever it is you're going to pay, you're going to have to do it up front because your word don't mean nothing, your character doesn't mean anything, and your integrity is not good with us. Pay us at the door because we've been paying for 400 years for a nation that has never paid us back. This, ladies and gentlemen, is not personal, it is principled. This is a principled struggle. We do not come to this battle full of hatred and contempt. The fight is not about resentment or wanting to tear something down. This is really a revolution that we wanted to show America how to make America great for the first time. Because the reality is America ain't ever been great as long as you mishandle the people that built it for free and never got anything for it. In order for America to be great, there's got to be diversity. There's got to be equity. There has got to be inclusion. And that does not look like white women at the front of the line. It looks like black and brown people at the front of the line who have built it through sweat equity. Black people don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking about how to destroy the nation. Black people don't have daydreams on how to storm the Capitol. Black people have no imagination around tiki torches. No black people who you can find have ever burned a cross outside of a church and have never put a white hood over their heads. We were foolish enough to believe that there would actually be liberty and justice for all. And we declare by faith that our grandchildren are not going to inherit our grandmother's America. We have got to make this nation better. I need you to hear this. The full-throated boycott we are embracing today has nothing to do with getting our lick back. It's nothing about the final word. We are not endeavoring to go viral. This is a principled movement because this is a principled moment. The movement is based upon self-determination and self-respect. I stand before you today having never marched with Dr. King, never sat in a ballroom to hear Malcolm X, never able to shake the hand of Fannie Lou Hamer, having never had the opportunity to sit amongst the ranks of those nameless and faceless people who went before us. But what I do know is that the unborn generation that comes after us is going to ask, what did you do during the Trump-Musk presidency? What did you do when the least qualified got cabinet positions? How did you respond when they were purging those who were working on government jobs and government contracts, all while the person who was responsible for Doge was lining his own pockets every day? What did you do? And history is gonna record that there was a group of black people from Minneapolis to Brooklyn to Baltimore to Chicago to Houston that made up in their minds, I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, I'm gonna keep on talking, and I'm gonna keep on not spending my money at Target until they recognize the beauty and the excellence of who it is that we are. We believe every community has the right to be respected, to be treated with value. We will not participate in our own disrespect. In the words of my dear frat brother, Dr. David Johns, we are not going to invest in our own oppression. If you want to walk away from us, that's fine. That's the door. But I need you to understand that the door swings both ways. And because we come as a people of peace, this movement is built on love. The kind of love that is becoming a fleeting commodity in America. This is a revolution that is built on love that we have not seen in the last 11 weeks, that is contrary to the love that we represent. It is not love that would have an innocent man in jail in El Salvador. It is not love that would tell women that they do not have a full occupation of their own bodies. It is not love that teachers will be penalized for teaching real American history that is black history. It is not love to threaten the African American Smithsonian Museum. It is not love that universities like Columbia and Johns Hopkins and Harvard would have the threat of millions of dollars taken away from them when HBCUs are fighting just to keep the lights on and to meet the payroll every other week. That is not love. We love ourselves, and our greatest weakness is learning how to love those who despitefully use us. We love ourselves enough to not be taken for granted. And because we love ourselves, we love America enough to hold America accountable. This movement is a movement of self-respect. It is a movement that climbs and claws and breathes itself towards nonviolent economic resistance. We don't need to pick up rocks. We don't need to break windows. We don't need to spray paint stores. All we have to do is understand that Mahatma Gandhi was right, that the highest form of violence is poverty. Dr. King said that poverty is the bride of crime. That wherever it is that you see crime, poverty is close by. And if you want to lower crime, get rid of poverty. And so today we say that we want a simple agenda. We want equal rights. We want equal protection. We want equal opportunities. We want our votes not to be suppressed. We want access to education. We want the eradication of poverty. We want equity. We want diversity. We want inclusion. And we want somebody in the White House that represents all of America. We are boycotting Target because when you look at a man in the eye, when you look a woman in the eye, when you shake her hand, you have an obligation to do what you promised. And if we can't take your word, how do you think you'll take our dollars? Because if we can't trust how you do business, how can we trust you for the process? The entire consumer relationship is based upon confidence, and Target has crucified its integrity on a cross called vanity. And regrettably for them, there'll be no Easter. You cannot resurrect when your intention was never for the people. You cannot be an ally for the oligarchy and forget the marginalized and the oppressed. We do not want Target to do us a favor. We want them to treat us as equals. Anybody that's taking $12 million a day ought to be able to look us in the eye with some respect and with some accountability. Up until 42 days ago, black people spent $12 million a day at Target, almost $7 billion a year, over $41 billion since George Floyd been killed. And what it is that you promised, you didn't think we were good enough to receive. And so, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, I want you to understand that the revolution will not be televised. It'll be at the cash register. And we want to put on notice, Target is the first, they are not the last, and they are not the only. So whoever it is think you gonna get away with murder, look for Viola Davis. But if you are gonna do real business, then you gonna have to do it with black people, with integrity, with honor, and with character. When are you gonna stop the boycott, Pastor Bryant? We are not gonna stop until there's liberty and justice for all. God bless you, and let the revolution now go forward.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. 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 This is America. Don't catch you slipping now.
Yes, I don't think that the answer is to keep shooting ourselves in the foot and then ask for a cast.
But will we ever get there, Pastor? Like, you know, we want to get there, right?
Yeah.
Will we ever own our own Target / Walmart? Will we ever own our own car manufacturer?
Yeah.
Will we ever own our own so we can rely on it? It just seems like we're far stretched from that.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're asking for Target to do, and for all of the demands that we're asking of Target, please go to targetfast.org. They're on 27 college campuses, but no HBCUs. Mm-hmm. I'm asking Target to partner with 10 HBCUs to show our businesses how to scale up and to go into the retail space. Reverend Sharpton is one of my mentors, but in the history of black people, we have never marched black people into a white business to say, spend money here. So we got to figure out how it is that we really reroute and redirect so that we can create an ecosystem for us to be able to do it. I think that is possible, but there's a plan that has to be afoot in order to make it done.
I don't have any problem with the boycott, but I don't have a problem with the boycott either. I just feel like, you know, people should do something.
Agreed.
If they're moved to do something. But I saw you repost the preachers who led their flock into the store to buy all of the black products. Why did you feel the need to speak out against that?
Read the room. There's no way.
Well, which room though, Pastor? Everybody room different.
No. Read the living room. Yeah, the Japanese proverb said the best room in the house is the room for improvement. You'll notice that it caught on nowhere. Mm-hmm. Nobody thought that was a good idea except for those
I heard
pastors.
a lot of people talking about a boycott.
Yeah, in Target.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying
that memo.
I heard a lot of people saying go in there and buy all the black products.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. I think that there's got to be a different way that we redirect. I think, to my sister's point, how do we support these businesses? Mm-hmm. To Envy's point, we don't have a major retailer, but we're the most creative people. Y'all done brought everybody in here. Master P got on from selling from the trunk of his car. Mm-hmm. So I think that we got to be innovative and put a think tank together. Say, Magic Johnson, you bought all these movie theaters. In the concession stand, can I now buy lipstick? Right. I don't know the answer to it, but I think that we've got to figure out a way and figure out a path and figure out a tributary.
Yeah, I just don't want us to make the same mistakes that our generations before us made. Meaning, like, people would knock Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
for his methods.
Yes.
And, you know, different organizations would knock each other and say, no, we should be doing it this way. We should be doing it that way.
Yes.
It's just like, yo, as long as everybody's doing something, I feel like it all can be effective.
In a sense, I'm going to meet you on the 50-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
If you got beef with somebody, me and you are friends, and you find out who you got beef with, I'm at dinner with. You're like, oh, man, I thought we was together. Oh, Charlamagne, don't worry about it. It was just cheesecake. Mm-hmm. We didn't even talk about you. Mm-hmm. You would look at me with a different kind of eye. Like, hey, man, if we in it together, how are you carousing with the person who is against me? And so I think that there's got to be a line in the sand of how it is that we stand without attacking each other. I think that's where the rubber hits the road. There can be many different paths. I spoke at a college last week in Michigan, and I asked them, who is the head of the LGBTQ movement? And all of these college students, nobody could answer it. And I said, do you all believe that LGBTQ has a movement? They said, yes. And I said, you don't know the head? I said, no. I said, that's the memo black people got to take. Have a movement without making one singular spokesperson. That what it is that we're doing can be rested on the back of the shoulder of one person being the leader. So the movement doesn't have to be just Sharpton or Jasmine Crockett or Maxine Waters, that all of us are moving towards that end, but it is not one entity against another. The reality is Malcolm X made Martin King a better leader because he questioned his philosophy and he had to defend it. And so I think one of the things that the Detroit pastors did made us sharpen the conversation as to why it is that we're not going. So it's not just a social media post or a rah-rah moment, but there's something really tangible for us to argue.
God got the right man. We're going to transition into our panel discussion. And while that transition is happening, I wanted to just drop something in your memory bank just for a second, because I don't want anyone to ever believe that this wasn't intentional. The number one employer of black folk in the United States of America is the federal government. The first mass layoffs by executive action were who? Federal workers. The number one sustainable income of household median income for livable wages is who? The federal government. The number one employer of black folk is the federal government. But see, it's not just that. Whatever number you use, you can say black folk make up 14%, black folk make up 17% of the US population. There's only one area where black folk are actually overrepresented in employment. Over 20% of black folk make up the federal government. The only place we are overrepresented in the employment ranks. Their first job was to target us without ever saying the word black. Just wanted to drop that in your memory banks, all right? I want everybody to give a round of applause for these great luminaries that I'm bringing to the stage. These individuals have a significant amount of insight, knowledge, and heart. Ron Busby Sr., President and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers. Dr. Ben Chavis, African-American civil rights leader icon. Thankful for his continued leadership. Dr. David J. Johns, educator and policy analyst. Doc. Our dear sister who showed us and the world and everybody else exactly what leadership looks like. Social justice leader movement strategist and author, Tamika Mallory. And a person that I get the pleasure of seeing at least once a month on my television show, one of the most remarkable leaders, fearless fighters. If they let her get back in public office, it is on. Honorable Nina Turner, founder, president, we are somebody. All right, collectively, round of applause, beautiful people, great insight. Now, I have 45 minutes to talk to all these folk who talk a lot. And I have a 15-minute Q&A with you. That part is very important to me, so I want to make sure we stay on time. For my first question, I'm actually going to start with Tamika Mallory, okay? There's a lot of chatter. Yeah, you're welcome, sister. And we just gonna have a conversation. There's a lot of chatter about how boycotts don't work on social media, which is an insane argument to me. However, I want to pose it first in that context. If someone says to you, boycotts no longer work, what's your response?
Great. Thank you. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. And I am just truly humbled and honored to be a part of a movement that is truly bigger than any 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, because this really started as a grassroots movement that grew from the people. And so many of you who are in this room today, and we're multiplied because there are folks who are all over this country who could not be with us, but they are rooting for us and standing with us that we keep this effort going. And I am proud to be a part of it, and in no way do I believe, or do we believe, that any one person or one organization could say that a boycott has ended, because as people have been telling me, including my mama, she said, shoot, I ain't thinking about Target. I ain't never probably going back to Target, you know? So there's some folks that no matter what we say, the movement will continue, and that is the beauty of being a part of an effort like this, that we are all kept honest by the people. And so thank you all so much for being in this, all of us being together. And yes, I know boycotts work, number one, but let's just look at this one. Target wouldn't be calling for a meeting if it wasn't hurting, right. You know? So they, you know, people don't meet with you if they don't feel they need to talk to you. And we know that the numbers are real. We've been monitoring. I have to shout out our brother Roland Martin, who is also covering today. When we first started working together, Nina, myself, Pastor Bryant, and some other folks, it was a bunch of people who were kind of like talking all across the country about what do we do in this moment. And Roland was helping us to stay very much so grounded in the numbers, in the stocks, and also just watching the foot traffic and what have you, so that we could measure our work. And it was very clear from the beginning that, and you know, I love that CNN put out a very simple statement yesterday. Their headline was super simple. It said, Target rolled back their DEI, foot traffic fell. No, boycott called, foot traffic fell. That's it. It's very simple. We can see it. And there are people who will try to make us believe that we don't have power. But there is no way that you could have $1.8 trillion in spending and not have power. The only way we fumble that is if we don't know it. But they know. And I believe that what we have done and what we are accomplishing together is not only showing them, but it is also reminding us that when we come together and when we pull back our money and really are more careful and more intentional about our spending, it shakes the ground, because we are truly the foundation of how this country continues to operate.
Well said. Dr. Chavis, I have a question for you. You have an interesting background, obviously. Civil rights icon, advocate, and you understand science. It's background in chemistry. And I want you to talk to us about how you can understand particular chemicals will not mix well together, but particular energies, personalities, motives will not mix well together either. What is different about this movement, this era, and this climate, in your opinion, for the overall movement you've been a part of?
Thank you. First, I want to thank God.
Amen.
I want to thank God for the Reverend Dr. Jamal Bryant. I want to thank God for all of my sisters and brothers here on this panel, and to the audience that's live streaming this, to the millions, the nearly 50 million African Americans across this country who are praying, who are hoping that this time we will continue to make progress. I'm going to answer your question. When Dr. Bryant talked about movement, Tamika also mentioned movement. A movement is beyond organizations. C.T. Vivian defined a movement as people moving from one place to another with consciousness, with aspirations. And I think that what happened in Minneapolis with those sisters that first pointed at the unfulfilled promises, the broken promises of Target, this is all across the country. One of the things that makes different personalities, different communities, say different chemicals, different properties work together is that sometimes they need a catalyst. Dr. Bryant is a catalyst. Reverend Sharpton is a catalyst. We got many catalysts. I guess I'm the OG up here. I did walk and work with Dr. King. I did work and walk with Brother Malcolm. I did work and walk with Minister Farrakhan. I did work and walk with Freddie Lou Hamer. I did work and actually fell in love with Angela Davis. I'm just being honest, we're in church. So what have I observed over the last 77 years when it comes to us? I'm so thankful we had that prayer to start the service off, because we are praying people. Every night I pray, and every morning I pray, but I always included in my prayer a little line from the Lord's Prayer. Keep us from temptation. Deliver us from evil. And tonight I would say we need to be delivered from our disunity. We need to be delivered from one organization or one leader or one person trying to be on top. And we need to be delivered from people who are trying to cut side deals. There's but one deal. When you stand before God, there's only one deal. And that's the deal of righteousness. That's the deal of treating everybody the same with equity and inclusion. So my final part to your answer to your question. Look out in this audience, and if we had the ability to look at the millions of people who are watching this live stream, black folks, we're not monolithic. We have different denominations, we have different organizations. Today, I think he wouldn't mind me telling, I had a long call from Reverend Sharpton. I had a call from Mark Moyer, Urban League. I had a call from Derek Johnson. And I'm so pleased to be working with Tamika and Nina and many others in the State of the People, and Roland Martin. I'm actually really here tonight on behalf of the black press. There are 10 black newspapers right here in the state of Georgia. In Atlanta, the Atlanta Tribune, the Atlanta Inquirer, the Atlanta Daily World, the Atlanta Voice. This year marks the 198th year of the black press in America. We've seen movements come and we've seen movements go. But I want to say in years, including what happened in the 60s and the 70s, the 80s and the 90s, I have yet to see what I see tonight. What I see in this day and time. We have more opportunity than ever before. This thing with Target is a catalyst. It is not the end, it's not the beginning. But if we do what we're supposed to do, love one another, work together, stand together, pray together, march together, support one another. And so I'm optimistic that our chemicals are going to work together. Man. Because we got the proper catalysts to make it happen.
That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Senator Turner, you and I talk often about the hypocrisy in corporations and public representation. Now, a few years ago, DEI was the sexiest thing a corporation could say. They had all the black friends on their social media post. They were down with the movement. They were woke until somebody said, we have to now be anti-woke. And all of a sudden, corporations wanted to get rid of DEI, but Trump was, as you would say, dear brother, the catalyst that swept it in like this. Why do you think companies were so willing, Senator? I mean, we're talking about days. Why were they so willing to abandon the entire principle of DEI programs?
Well, Doc, they never loved us to begin with. They were just playing games. I think the sooner that Black America understands that we were never, this country never intended for us to walk around as equals. Now, that's a hard thing to really internalize, but it is real. You know, Bayard Rustin, one of the architects, you know, the civil rights movement, he said that this country never has and never will do anything solely for the Negro. The sooner we understand our position in the universe on one side when it comes to this country, and so these corporations are just microcosms of the larger ethos of the United States of America. But as Dr. Maya Angelou said, but still, we rise.
That's right.
So that's it. I want to say, you know, I get by with a little help from my friends, or somebody said, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So I got to thank my sister Tamika Mallory and brother Reverend Dr. Jamal, Bryant, and a whole bunch of other folks that was in that brew. But I want you to know it has to start. The spark has to start somewhere. When I called my sister Tamika up, I said, T, we got to do some things. We got to boycott Target. On January 24th, the CEO boldly announced in a memo to his employees that because of President Donald J. Trump, they got to do away with DEI and all the promises of DEI. So that leads me to ask the question to the CEO, was you serious or were you playing in our face?
Right.
The entire time, I believe this man was playing in our face. I want the faithful in this room to know that he could have been here tonight. He should have been here tonight. He's been traveling all over the country trying to break us up, trying to sow seeds of division. But he's not here tonight. But yesterday, he had no problem meeting with President Donald J. Trump. Hello, somebody.
Right.
He did that. I just want you to know. I want to shout out the CEO of Marriott. I don't know this man, but I had a chance to see a clip of him. And he was giving his speech. He spoke about President Trump's sweeping changes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's important that we say diversity, equity, and inclusion, because there's nothing wrong with diversity, nothing wrong with equity, and nothing wrong with inclusion. The reason why we need these things is because this country didn't have those things. And he said that when he saw the executive order, he immediately went to meet with his team. And then they knew that they were aligned with diversity, equity, and inclusion, but he had to figure out some stuff. When that man said those things, over 40,000 of his employees sent him an email from all over the world saying thank you. And you know what they were thanking him for? For having intestinal fortitude. It's time out for us to beg people to do right by us. There's power in our purchase. Did you hear me? There's power in our purchase. And Doc, as you laid out in some of your remarks, an economic withdrawal, but we need a total consumer realignment in the United States of America. We ain't gonna beg folks to love us. We just ain't gonna spend our money with you. Now, we're gonna have to hit up some other folks, as Dr. Bryant laid out, because if black folks consciously decided that we wasn't gonna spend money, we wouldn't have nobody, okay? Because everybody done tried to do us wrong. I want to center the workers real quick, Doc, unless you coming back to me on that. But let me just center the workers real quick. Let me center the workers at Target, let them know that we love them and we understand. We have talked to workers in Target who feel embarrassed, who feel ashamed. They need our love. They need our uplift. They need to be unionized. Hello, somebody, because they not unionized. We got to get in there and unionize them. Now, CEO to worker pay. This is important. I want y'all to think about this. In 1989, it was 61 to 1, meaning that CEO pay was 61 times greater to 1. In 2024, it was 399 to 1. The Target CEO makes 719 times. I want you to wrap your mind around that. Costco, who's better, Reverend, send them to Costco's, 262 to 1. It ain't great, but it's better. Now, in the fiscal year 2024, Target CEO Brian Cornell received a total compensation of over $19 million. This included a base salary of $1.4 million. He had $14.7 million in stock awards and $3.1 million in other compensation. 719 times the median employee pay of a little over $26,000. We can't play these games with these people. And it is immoral, it is righteous that we are in the house of the Lord talking about how black people organized from the get-go was in the Christian church. Target don't love us, and Target got to be made an example of because, as Dr. Bryant laid out, he the one that made the promise. So now you can't promise me the Mercedes and the house, and then I come find out my name ain't on the deed. You can't promise me the Mercedes and then it's depreciating every single day. And as T and I say, you can't love me at night and won't take me out in the day. Hello? That's Target. They played on our sympathies when the CEO came out and said that George Floyd could have been one of his employees. Now, he was telling the truth at the time, but what I want to know from the CEO of Target, what changed from 2020 to 2025? Don't bend the bigotry. And that is exactly what he did. That is what so many of these people did. But I want the black community to know tonight as I center you and those who are aligned with us that when we move, the whole nation moves. When we move, we are the moral consciousness of this nation. When we move, they move. So we got to move. And we must not forget the workers at Target. We have to collectively figure out a way, because see, what's going to happen as their market share continues to go down, as they continue to be indicted in the world of the public, the next thing this dude going to come say is he going to lay off some employees. They already took their bonus. See, we got to be a step ahead of him. What I want to know is when he going to give up 1,719 times the pay that he makes.
Right.
There is purchase in our power, and all of these other corporations, they shaking in their boots because they know we coming for you next.
That's right. Ron, I'm going to come to you for this one. Senator Turner said something quite compelling about how America never wanted us to really be equal, right? And there's this thing about a corporation loving us. But corporations aren't built to love. They are transactional. But we can make them respect us. When you deal with black businesses, this is your job, all across this nation and also outside of the nation at times. What is the greatest dynamic, the building block? What is the it factor? Because I agree, we have to do a realignment here. It has to be a realignment. If we withdraw, that means we got some money to spend. We need to spend it with somebody. Talk to us about that.
Great question, and thank you, Jamal, for having us. Thank you, audience, as well, watching. Conversation has really been about what's happening, not just to the employees, but also to the black business owners that had their products in Target. And understand that we were sensitive to those concerns. So the U.S. Black Chamber, under the leadership of Ron Busby, went to those businesses and said, you're losing a lot of money by having your products in Target. We can go direct to your websites, we can go direct to your stores, we can go direct as consumers to your businesses and make you a better business owner. Many of our businesses now are on a platform that we across the country can support. When asked generally in America, more than 80% of Americans think that DE&I is good. More than 70% of Americans say if the products were the same, a black product and a white product, under this climate, they would continue to support black products. We as black consumers have to hear that. We've got to be able to support our own. We talk a lot about the trillions of dollars that black businesses can market to black people. The majority of that leaves our communities, and we've been talking about that for decades. But this movement has allowed us to now talk about how do we keep that dollar in our community to ensure that our communities and our businesses and our families have the structure and the long-term sustainability. So what you have now seen is that people that are under the age of 40 years old, that are black and or white, are saying at least once a week, I'm looking for black products. At least once a week. If you're black and under 35, they're looking to spend with black businesses daily. We've got to make sure that they can be found. And so that's why I was so happy to partner with this fast and this boycott to make sure that it's not just what are we doing about Target, because it was never our interest about Target. I never wanted to say, well, Target is bad and somebody else is good. I'm always saying, buy black. I don't care where you go. Make sure that we are being intentional about who we're spending our money with. Make sure that they look like you, because 70% of black businesses hire black people. They live in our communities. Their children go to the same schools that you go to. When our kids are playing softball and they're looking for somebody to donate money, we're going to those black franchise owners. We're going to those black business owners and saying, hey, my son needs some new uniforms. Hey, my daughter is about to go to college. Can you make a donation? We've got to now make sure that those businesses have the resources and our dollars to make sure that they can continue to survive. This is going to be a difficult time for all businesses, but particularly for black-owned businesses, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can change the future of black businesses tonight. When we leave here, we should not be talking about, well, what do we do next? Everyone in this room has a phone, and everyone in this room has access to black-owned businesses and black events and opportunities and nonprofits. The federal government has really gutted many of the programs, technical assistances, loans, grants, so that you will have now churches and nonprofits and chambers of commerce that have to step in. That means that we've got to support those organizations that are supporting those businesses to make sure that they can support you. I'm really excited about the Bullseye. That's a great program. But many of us don't live in those communities. But in every community across the country, there are black-owned businesses. And we've got to make sure that you can support them. Take this down, BYBLACK.US. That is a digital directory of over 150,000 black-owned businesses that you can support today. You don't have to worry about what Target is going to do in the future. We can continue to support our own and make sure that whatever Target says, whatever Walmart says, whatever any of these companies say, we've got the businesses and the consumers to make sure that we have sustainability. BYBLACK.US. We can't spend our way out of this, but we can support each other to make sure that we get through this. And that's where you can find it.
Well said. So you're saying it's a paradigm shift, a mind shift.
Start thinking differently.
Now, that part, and I'm going to come to you, Doc, it's a mind thing. It's how we think about something, right? Understand the context. Understand how it happened. When we did not have equal rights by law, we had our great leaders, like yourself and others, march, create policy, run for office, vote, became leaders, donated money, all for the purpose of creating that equitable outcome. But here's what happened. A trick happened. The individuals who we were working with to integrate were the same individuals who never wanted us to integrate in the first place. But they were in charge of everything. So integration never happened. They wanted assimilation. They wanted you to assimilate to their culture and forget about your own. So in order to do that, in order for you to be equal, you had to stop going to the black-owned store and go to the one that white people can go to, because that was the measure of equality. In order to be equal, you had to sit where white people sat. I'm not bashing anybody, I'm just trying to make a point, because that created a, say it again, come on, it created a mindset. It created a mindset. And that mindset is so powerful that it becomes a spell, it seems, where we'll know it logically, but then we implement action opposite. You have a difficult job, brother. You raise the consciousness of people in the mind, and you have a great advocacy leadership role. When we talk about mind, because my business brother, the money man, said it's all in the mind. I'm coming to you. How do we transition the mind? It's not about access. It's not about do you know where to go. It's about us making the conscious to subconscious, subconscious to conscious connection to simply do it. How?
I appreciate y'all. First, let me say thank you as well to my brother, literal and figurative. Shout out to the Noops in the room for creating this space. Also, as an unapologetic member, y'all simmer down. As an unapologetic member of the Mama's Boys Club, I want to double tap on honoring that there is nothing that we have that's beautiful in this world that doesn't come through black women. So I hope y'all hear my heart when I say thank you, including the ability to sit here and do this. Some of you met me when life was better, when there were black people in the house that black people built, who we knew loved other black people in our country, including our democracy. I was leading a White House initiative on educational excellence for African Americans. We could go to sleep with a sense of peace that there was not a fascist trying to rob us from our wealth to make his friends wealthy. And we existed in community. I'm saying this to make plain that sometimes we work too hard at things that we don't need to. The kindergarten teacher in me wants us in this moment to do three things. Three things, y'all can write them down. One is to own our power. As has been said, there wouldn't be a single thing in this country or any other country if it weren't for us. We curate cool. We are literally the progenitors of everything. Black people are alchemists. We take the things that they give us to kill us and innovate Renaissance style. We don't need to be lulled by the trappings of white mediocrity to drink their water knowing that it's not colder. We just need to reclaim, this is number two, African ways of being. In this moment, we should not be distracted by the temptations of folks like the failed history teacher turned governor of Florida. His name is Ronald Dion DeSantis, who are passing bills to tell us to stop being woke. Don't say gay or trans or the things. Don't do the things that black feminists say we need to do, because if we can name our conditions, we can then begin to change them, right? But what black people know is that, as Brian Stevenson says, systems work exactly as designed. These schools were not built for our babies to know who they are and whose they are. But no, hold on, y'all gonna miss the blessing. The challenge is that we have abdicated the responsibility to ensure our babies know who they are and whose they are, and given that job to white folks. We didn't outsource that labor. And so in this moment, while some of us are worried about where we're gonna go get our outfits for Easter, not necessarily thinking about how we're gonna build libraries with books that they are banning, I'm simply asking us to do that which we know we can do. We can teach our babies the story of Meshach, Shadrach, and a bad Negro, because they went through this before. I told you, Nebuchadnezzar is just like Ronald Dion DeSantis. They think too much of themselves and ain't done nothing to prove it. He said to them, black boys, I need you to bow at this statue or I'm gonna condemn you to this fiery pit of hell. And y'all gonna be in Section 8. We find joy wherever we go. Those brothers, when adults got scared, when adults were like, look, you can have this job. You can have my woman. Brothers who didn't vote for bodily autonomy and women to have decisions over their bodies. You can have my babies. Those three young brothers was like, nah, I'm good. What they knew, and this is, I hope y'all get this, this is why I am thankful that God chose me to be an educator, to understand the teachings of folks like Asa Hilliard, who said, I've never met a child in my life, a child who is black, who is not a genius. There's no secret to how we love them. There's no secret to how we love them. We first acknowledge them as human, and we support them with love. We have to support each other with the kind of love that says, I have faith to know that I'm going to commit to this boycott. I'm going to commit to being in community, even in this moment when I don't trust none of y'all, because I know it's necessary. I'm going to have the kind of faith that says, I'm just gonna walk. I'm gonna believe. Some of y'all already know this is not a David Johns thing, this is the Dr. Martin Luther King thing. He preached this sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church in '63. Too often we walk in spaces where white people are responding to the fact that the sky is falling for them for the first time. If we just turn down the white noise, if we invite them, some of my colleagues brought her to the room, Fannie Lou Hamer, if we remind them none of us are free unless and until all of us are free, amen? If we remind us that we don't need nothing from white people. We don't need nothing from white people. They can't even make potato salad. Y'all stop giving out tickets to the cookout. But all of this to say that we have everything we need to ensure that our babies are woke, that they are critical thinkers, that they are equipped to do the kind of work to wage war with whiteness. And now here's the last thing. What we should know is that we are winning. That we are here having a conversation with the congregation on today. That we are all in spaces where our purpose and passion aligns is a reflection of the fact that we're winning. If we were winning, they wouldn't be spending as much money as they are trying to keep us from being able to get closer to freedom. So I'm asking us to do the work of being in community, a principled struggle. We don't have to agree on everything, but we gotta agree that all black people need to be free. Now, when I say black people, I wanna be clear, all skin folk ain't my kinfolk. I'm not talking about Kanye West, I'm not talking about Omarosa, I'm not talking about Candace Owens. They can go. But if you purport to love the God that I know, then you gotta love all of us. You gotta stand on the business of making sure that we take care of each other. I don't even know if I answered your question, but that was what God placed on my heart. Love all of us, that's the point. You change the mindset by loving on all of us, right? Because here, let me hurt some of y'all feelings now that I got y'all on my side. Because here's how this usually go. In this space, y'all usually only want me and my gifts that my God gave me to be singing in a choir or performing a praise dance. Hello, somebody, now your feelings are hurt, right? Too often we only have a part of the conversation, which is we always hear, again, my queerness is African. There is nothing that exists that is not African. Sambufu Some in chapter 13 of Spirit of Intimacy wrote, in my village in West Africa, the words lesbian and gay did not exist, but the word gatekeeper did. I am a gatekeeper like Byron Rustin is a gatekeeper. We wouldn't have civil rights as we know it without Tamika Mallory and Byron Rustin. But unless and until we understand that we gotta love on one another, we gotta take our stuff to the pulpit and to a therapist, we gotta get out of the way of trying to live through our children. If we can't do that, then we can give all this other stuff up, because that's how we actually get free. That's all I got.
Come on. I told y'all the brother raises the consciousness. God bless you, brother. I have been told we are in our Q&A phase, all right? How are we gonna do this? I wanna make sure we got a mic here. How many mics we got? And here. Move around, okay. All right. Y'all want them to raise the hands, stand up? Yeah. All right.
Hello, thank you all for being here. It's very exciting. I'm very glad you're here. I'm Pamela Chance, been a member of New Birth since '92. Today I'm excited because today I launched in beta phase spadeslife.com. Spades Life, thank you, is a digital marketplace where black people can interact and spend that $1.8 trillion together. So Buy Black US is wonderful, but you can't search for a shirt or search for a nail or search for a screw. And that's the difference. It's shaped like Amazon. It's shaped like Etsy. And I'm very excited that it launched today. And we want to, Brother Busby, offer all of the thousands and thousands of members of the U.S. Black Chamber, like myself, free membership on the directory.
Wow.
So that everybody is represented and everybody can be searched. So just want to announce that today. My question is, given where we are in this environment, what is the best way you feel to communicate and redirect the dollars towards ourselves? And I'm just curious what each of you might have to say, because there's a lot of things out there, but they're all really, really hard to get to. So what do you recommend?
That's a great question, and thank you for that question. You know, after the murder of George Floyd, we all got together then and we're saying the same thing. What do we do as a community? And there was no place for us to go to find black businesses, black banks, black churches. So we partnered with Buy Black to implement a program to be able to find black businesses. During the murder of George Floyd was the same time that COVID was going on. We lost 41% of all black-owned businesses in this country between the months of February and April of 2020. And when we surveyed them, they said it wasn't because they were in the wrong business, it wasn't because they had lack of information or lack of capital, it was lack of information. And so the U.S. Black Chamber, along with the black media, black press, said that we've got to make sure that we give information to our communities through trusted sources that are reliable, that we have grown to know. And so that's why the U.S. Black Chamber acquired the National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters 3 years ago, which represents 170 black radio stations and black TV stations. In today's conversations about information, social media, but more importantly, the black press has always been here to tell us where to go, what to do, and more importantly, the news that is changing our communities and our companies going forward. And so I would tell people there's no reason for us not to say now that we don't know where to go or we don't have the information, because it is available.
On the front page of all of our papers this week will be the announcement that the boycott continues all over the United States. I would hope that everyone would subscribe to a black newspaper, a black-owned newspaper, subscribe to an economic development program, because the consciousness that we need has to be constantly fed.
Yep.
You can come to an event and get that conscious and then go lose it tomorrow, because we are bombarded with all the negativity. We're bombarded with all of the disgust and hopelessness. And, you know, I think that tonight and tomorrow going forward, we should be just more conscious about how we can help one another as brothers and sisters in the community. I think that we can attain and gain a lot more ground, even during this period, if we turn to each other rather than turning on each other.
Amen. I know we have a lot of people, okay? And I want to be fair. Obviously, 15 minutes is not enough time, but we're going to be here. So if your question cannot get answered, if you don't have time to do it in the line.
I have a suggestion with all these people. Just let them ask their question.
Yeah.
And then in the end, we'll try to.
Yeah, we'll just stay here. All right. So I'm going to go where?
Right here in the middle. We're going to stay in the center.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
bring them over
Okay.
here. All right, state your name.
My name is Peyton Moore, son of Willie Moore Jr. I'm 16 inside high school. Yes, sir. My question is, I have a question before my question. How many people are 16 here?
What was the question?
16. How many people are 16 years of age in here? As you can see, I'm the only one inside here who's 16. Now, how do we ensure as young people that we can push this movement and also plant the seeds as community that we keep pushing the narrative? Because a lot of times what I see on social media, if I go on my social media, all I'm going to see is negativity, something else that's just pushing the narrative of what the government wants to see. What the government wants to see is twerking, drugs, weed, money, all this other stuff. But we never push the narrative of this. Is, as you can see, there's nobody in high school inside here except for me. How do we ensure as young people that we as a community, because the community is not going to grow unless,
Wait, let's do this, because you're asking a question that you are best positioned to answer. So I would love for you to tell us what we need to do such that other people who you know would want to be in this space. Let's make this meaningful.
If I had to do a way to make sure that our communities as young people gets to this, to build and grow, so I can have more people like us, it starts with me. I have to share this with my friends, right? We have to make sure on social media, because you know they want to keep us down. They're obviously going to try to keep this out the media. We have to make sure on social media we can push this narrative in a way that connects young people more than just people inside here. So how do we learn to do that? Well, first of all, we have to see how they do that. A lot of times we took a lot of things in business. A lot of times you take something for something else. Like in podcasts, I learned other people do a lot of their commercials and different things the same way as you see on other things, because it's a lot of connections out there. So if we want to connect the young people, we got to learn how they do it and push our narrative. So I would start off with me. I'll probably share it to my friends. But the way we have to share it is we have to have a website, a social media platform, and the way we can communicate in a way that we can make this more than just me. and we can go viral. That's what I was saying. We'll go viral, get hot. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
All right, thank you. That was awesome.
Y'all can do better than that. He gave y'all free game that people pay consultants big money to tell them. And y'all got businesses, y'all better implement that plan. Sir, let's talk after this.
That's right. Willie Moore Jr. Man, I'm going to give you a round of applause for being a great dad, brother. Thank you for your leadership. Okay.
Hello, my name is Pamela Booker. I am the founder of Clothes by Nature. My product was actually in Target before DEI. I've been in business for 15 years, and what I've seen is that how can we build infrastructure with the tariffs and everything that's going on, what happened with COVID. As a manufacturer of products, it was hard for us to get our resources. I found out everything is made in China and Mexico. Even though it may be assembled here in the United States, the components are made in Mexico. So with you all bringing all of the businesses, you know, come and buy black, it is amazing, but we gonna run out. We need infrastructure here in the United States to make our jars, to make our plastic tops. We need that here. So how can we build that infrastructure here in the United States?
That's open to any panelist.
That's a great question. You know, access to capital is the #1 issue for all small businesses. But when you talk to a black business owner, like the sister here, it's the 1, 2, and 3. Affordability, availability, and accessibility. Go to usblackchambers.org. We have grants right now for manufacturing, right now to develop infrastructure. Although the federal government has stopped, there are other corporations that have stepped in to make sure that we have the manufacturing opportunities going forward, because right now today it is very difficult, and I hear what you're saying, but make sure you're going to the usblackchambers.org to find out. There's an organization, company called Lendistry that's black owned, which is the largest black lender in America right now. Great rates, and are definitely lending to black business owners.
Thank you for that information. That's light. Thank you, brother.
My name is Sherdon Reynolds. I am the CEO of She Prints It here in Atlanta. Woo woo, okay, I got some friends in the building. I just wanted to first thank Jamal Bryant so much for this opportunity, and also note that one of the things that stands out to me is that Proverbs 18:21 said there's power and death in the tongue, like life and death in the tongue. And we talking about how Target spoke that they're going to do something for us and they didn't stick to it, right? And so that's brought death to their business. But I want us to have a deeper conversation about the power of the tongue in the black community. Because as a black-owned business, in dealing with, like that queen said, the tariffs, COVID, and all the challenges we deal with, it's challenging to have on top of that black people saying they don't want to do business with black folks. Right. Black people saying that we don't have the right infrastructure or systems, but we'll support a brand that had 20 years to build something that we didn't have the ability to do. So what are we doing intentionally, to stop starting new organizations and support the ones that exist? You have organizations like Buy From a Black Woman, Buy Black, like there's all these organizations that already exist. Can we stop starting new ones and support the ones that exist and give them a voice? And 2, are we gonna have some closed door, no camera, real talk conversations on how we move and change the power of our tongue to speak power over black businesses, not just with your dollars, but with your voices? Because I can't see how we grow and expand without that. And I would just say the last piece, as talking about black businesses, we can't just focus on supporting black businesses that are retail products. There are black businesses that are service-based and that also support other black businesses like my company does. And if a black retail brand, we all push to support them, but then they don't take that dollar to then do business with service-based black businesses, we're breaking the cycle, and we have to have a plan for all of that.
Ecosystem is what she's talking about. Has been ecosystem.
There's this story that many of us have heard, and it goes a little something like this. My great-grandfather used to always talk about white folk ice was colder than ours. Like everything that white people did was better than what we did, even their ice was colder. That was the myth, but there was some truth to that myth. Before we had refrigerators, we used to have ice boxes. And if you've heard me tell this story before, please just indulge me. You see, before you had a refrigerator, you used to get a block of ice delivered to your house once a week. And they'd place that block of ice in what was called an ice box. And that would keep your meats and milks and vegetables fresh for 7 days. Well, my grandfather used to have an ice delivery service. And one early Saturday morning, I said, Daddy, Granddaddy, can I ride with you? Can I ride with you? And he said, all right. And we got up early that Saturday morning and put all the ice on the back of the truck. And first thing we did was went to the white communities. And we'd take that block of ice and we'd put it in our ice box, and it would last for 7 days. And we'd ride around all day delivering to the white communities. And then by the time we got to the black community, that ice is had on the back of the truck all day long. So now that ice then melted down a little bit, got chipped away a little bit. So by the time it got into our ice boxes, it literally only lasted for 5.5 days. So there was some truth to the fact that white folk ice was colder than ours. Because on Friday night, we would have to go to the white establishments to get a cold Coke or an ice drink. But because of a black man, we created the refrigeration. So understand this. I can get cubed ice. I can get crushed ice. I can get filtered ice. Hell, I can get colored ice.
Cussing Christians.
And when we start thinking about our businesses in the same vein, we no longer have to be concerned about what white folk are doing, because our ice is cold enough now, guys. And when we start looking at our businesses and saying, I don't need you to give me a $1 product for 75 cents and then complain because I'm not getting that 85 cents worth of service. We've got to start paying our small businesses the price that is the price. They can no longer afford to be able to create manufacturing and grow their firms if we keep discounting them, if we keep asking for the brother hookup or the homegirl love. We've got to start doing the same things when we walk into their stores as we do when we walk into these white stores. Amen. We pay the price that's on the tag so that they can continue to make the profits to be able to grow their establishment.
Amen. On that note, round of applause for our entire panel. Round of applause to you. Never forget, you are creator beings. The greatest thing that can happen to a creator being is for them to take away your distractions, and you are back into your creative mind. Let's bring back to the stage our dear brother and leader, Dr. Jamal Bryant.
Come on, would you give it up for these brilliant lights? They glow in the dark. Come on, clap for them. Brother Rashad, come on, give it up. Brother Ron Busby. Senior statesman, Dr. Ben Chavis. Super bad sister number 1, Tamika Mallory. The Honorable Dr. Nina Turner. Dr. Step on Toes, David Johns. We're so thankful. You may be seated for just one moment, just one moment. I want to say just a couple of things en route to our departure. First, are you glad you came out tonight? I hope that you are. Those of you who have not, particularly for those of you who are streaming, I want to pause and publicly appreciate Isaac Hayes III and fan base for streaming us on a black-owned platform. I want to thank God, our dear brother and comrade Roland Martin, who is always in the trenches. Those of you who have not done so, it's an urgent imperative that you would register at targetfast.org.